Talk about just the 12th man and 106,000, second largest crowd in the history of the
Let me tell you something.
stadium.
That atmosphere and environment tonight, you don't want to play in that, something wrong with you. That right there, that recruits and the people and the love, I mean, that's as good an environment and atmosphere as there is in college football, bar none. I don't care where it's at. Those people are behind you, and I'm thankful we won the game for them, and I mean that for our players, for everybody who believes in us, and especially our fans, though, because, listen, this place deserves a great football team. We're doing everything in our power to make it that way, and we're going to try to get it there. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're growing. But this fan base is tremendous, and the atmosphere and environment is the best in college football.
Talk about what you could improve on from the time that y'all met up last year at all?
You know, this wasn't about this week getting ready to play this defense. You know, this was 12 months. So, you know, when you get embarrassed like we did a year ago, at least me, you know, offensively, we're going to try everything we can to figure out how to beat you. So,
and I told them on that last drive, if we score with little to no time left on the clock, that we're going to go for two and make it. And I love the play call. And we had three options there and on the play, and we just didn't convert it. So with that,
I appreciate the fan experience of how fun this brand of football is to watch.
I hope they enjoy the heck out of it. You know, I mean, that we're going to play fast and physical in all three phases of the game. Offensively, yeah, we're probably a little bit different than what's happened. I think that's the first step to making this fan base in this state extremely proud of who we are on the football field.
You know, elite can be a loose term. I thought that we were elite at times. I never used the term that we're elite. We didn't force turnovers enough to be elite, you know what I mean? And I thought
times, if you want to play in big games, you got to take care of business. It doesn't get much bigger than undefeated Georgia, undefeated Kentucky next week. What's kind of the mentality going into that game?
We just discussed it briefly. I just said enjoy it for a few hours, but get some sleep tonight, and they know. Punch the clock on Monday. And coaches will be in there tomorrow morning, but players, we can't see them until Monday, so they need to rest up, heal up, get some treatment, and be ready to go.
Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I know you're cracking that cold one open because you're fired up, buddy. This Tennessee Ole Miss, I cannot remember the last time there's been this much hype surrounding a Tennessee football game. They just announced it's officially a sellout. They're checkerboarding the stadium.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby.
Cousin Shane, the Flying Hawaiian, we'll all go be at that one. How fired up are you for this? Lane Kiffin's return.
Oh, I am super, super excited, man, because it is going to be awesome. It's going to have, I mean, just seeing you guys. Haven't got to see you guys in forever, so we're going to get to hang out, tailgate a little bit, drink some cold beers. Then we're going to head inside and we're going to kick some ass, hopefully. So that's what I'm looking forward to. A lot of offense, man. I think it's going to be. I think it's just going to be an electric game, man. Electric atmosphere. Say what you want. There's a lot of naysayers about the checker kneeling, but the thing's sold out, man. The thing sold out the first year of Coach Heupel. That's the main thing. That's my main takeaway here is we're halfway through the season and we ain't gave up. We are moving in the right direction. We had 2 blowouts. Ole Miss, they slipped a little against Alabama, but they got right back into it, beating Arkansas. Their fan base is pumped up. Our fan base is pumped up. Both teams expecting to win, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's at night. I think the weather's like 72 degrees. I think they're calling for a little rain. Who cares,
perfect.
you know? It's going to be awesome, man. So I'm totally pumped for this. I'm really looking forward to it. We're in the orange section, so I'll be wearing orange, baby.
Absolutely, Shane. And before we jump around the league, we're going to held off to wait for you to talk about this one. But, you know, I did want to start off this show. I thought this was pretty interesting. I don't know if you've seen this, Shane, but as of right now, going into Week 7 of the SEC, there are 6 teams right now in the league that control their destiny. And we got a couple of them going head-to-head this weekend. So I just thought share this little nugget with you, Shane. It kind of adds to the weekend that is here in the SEC. And, of course, 2 of those 6 meeting in Athens, Georgia and Kentucky, both undefeated. They control their own destiny. Obviously, either one wins out, they're going to the SEC championship game. But how about this, Shane? I don't know if you're aware of this, but them Tennessee Vols, they also control their destiny to Atlanta. And that's hard to believe. Those are the only 3 teams in the East right now that control their destiny. How surprised are you to find that out?
That is unusual. I didn't even think of it that way. Do you have the 6 teams? Because I'm going through my head. I couldn't figure them all out. What do you got here? Who controls their own destiny, Mike?
Yeah, okay. So, again, in the East, Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And then out West, like I said, we got another head-to-head one here, Shane. Alabama. I know they lost, but Alabama controls their own destiny. And they are playing at Mississippi State this weekend. Mississippi State controls their destiny in the SEC West. So, a little added intrigue to that one. And finally, them Auburn Tigers, Shane, who I know I was sleeping on them all off season, but still coming off the loss to Georgia, they control. They've not lost to a single SEC West opponent. So how about it, Shane? Alabama, Auburn, and Mississippi State in the West, Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee in the East. And that's not to say that, the rest of the teams I've not mentioned have been eliminated by any means, but they just don't control their destiny. They need other teams to lose, if that makes sense.
Think about that, man. Think about that. It is October 12th. We're recording this, and those teams still have a fighting shot to get into an SEC championship. Wake up, gamblers. If you're wanting to take a long shot right now, pick one of these 6 teams to win the SEC. And don't pick the obvious ones, because one of these guys could be the one. Hell, it could be any one of these teams. I'm not closing the book on Tennessee. I know they got Georgia. I know we got Alabama. But, man, you want to talk about a long shot? Yeah, but it's still a shot. So I love that, man. I did not realize it was that many teams. And if you would have told me, Mike, second week of October, Tennessee would still control their own destiny, I would have said you are crazy. If you told me second week of October and Auburn still controlled their destiny, I would have called you an idiot. Think about that, man. There's a lot of programs that are surprising people this year, and anything could happen, baby. Anything. If that Alabama-Texas A&M game told us anything, can happen.
Right, and if Alabama loses another one, again, I know that's probably not likely, but wouldn't be...
Why not? Just pile it on, Mike.
If Alabama loses another one, Shane, that cracks the door open for both Ole Miss and Texas A&M to control their destiny. So, again, this is a long way from being decided, and, that's the way it should be. Here in recent years, I've hated it when we've got... no disrespect to these schools, but Alabama and Georgia, and it's November 1, and they're already locked into meeting in Atlanta. That's just not fun for the sport, I don't think. So I love the fact that we got nearly half the league here controlling their destiny, half the league a game away out. So, I think it just adds so much hype and fun to this weekend because, like you said, who knows what we're going to get. If the season we've had so far has taught us anything, it says this is going to be a wild season. You know what?
Absolutely. That's what I want, Mike, a 2-loss SEC champ. We'll expand those playoffs the next year.
Well, all right, buddy, we've kind of held off long enough. I wanted to really take a deep dive on this one with you. So let's kick it on down to Rocky Top. You kind of teased it there in your intro, Shane, but, man, Josh Heupel, again, when he was hired, I think most Tennessee fans, if they were being honest, it was kind of like, oh, God, we're getting the UCF coach. Like, is this how far we've fallen? Yet here we are, just like you said, Lane Kiffin's returning. There was a lot of people that wanted Lane Kiffin back on Rocky Top. And now, no disrespect to Lane Kiffin, I think Tennessee fans are thrilled to be where they're at. They're thrilled after season of seeing this offense struggle, of seeing how quickly Josh Heupel can turn this thing around. I think you got to have positivity towards his hires on the defensive staff. I mean, that was probably the biggest question mark. Now that unit's playing lights out. And how about these stats, Shane? I don't know if you've seen them. I'm going to read them off. This is from the official Tennessee Vol Twitter account. Tennessee Vol, Shane, right now, number 1 in the SEC in all of these categories. rushing touchdowns, total offense in SEC games, first downs, tackles for loss, turnover margin in SEC games, and 30-yard or more plays in SEC games. That is just, I know we're not at the end of the season by any means, so let's not hang the banner here, but just given where Tennessee has been on that side of the ball, I mean, that is just incredible, isn't it?
Just crown them, baby. Crown them balls. Hey, listen, I'll take all the positive news and stats you got. I mean, the product doesn't lie. And what I love about it as a Tennessee Vol fan, everybody knows that this is not an A-plus roster.
Mm-hmm.
This is not. It's not a B-plus roster. It's probably not even a C-plus roster if you count all the injuries we've had.
Right.
These guys have what they've been able to – what I think that's the biggest surprise. We know what Heupel's working with, and what he's able to get out of that is just – we're on cloud nine, man, as a Volunteer fan. You got this defense is thin, razor thin, and they're still scrapping and fighting, like you said, and leading turnovers in SEC games. That's ridiculous. But this is just a fiery bunch of crew. I mean, these guys have gotten a little taste of winning, and they want to keep doing it. So that's what we're excited about. We're not so much excited about the product we have now. We're excited about the future of this program, something that we've not been able to do in the last 2 coaching hires. We've just never walked away and said, man, we're back, baby. We haven't felt like this since Lane Kiffin in that close game in Alabama. That's where we are as a fan base. So I'm excited, man. Keep throwing the stats. We'll do it. Now, they may lose a couple games. I don't care, man. They're still doing great. So that's what I'm excited about. They showed me that it doesn't matter who's on that field. That old saying, any given Saturday, Tennessee has shown me that it doesn't matter who's on that field, that if the stars are aligned, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Shane, I don't know what this is really worth, to be honest with you, but Josh Heupel has faced Lane Kiffin twice. They were head coach at UCF and FAU, respectively, but Josh Heupel won both those games. Scored over 100 points combined in those 2 games. Again, I know that doesn't factor in this upcoming game, but you got to like that. Ole Miss is the number 129th most penalized team in the country out of 130, so damn near dead last. And here you got a sellout crowd. You got a checkered kneeling. It's going to be an incredible, incredible environment. And there's just so much to like about the Vols. And how about this, Shane? I was thinking about this. It was almost like... we kind of kid about Georgia basically getting a bye week playing Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Tennessee kind of got like a second half bye last weekend playing South Carolina, where Ole Miss had to go to the wire playing Arkansas. And we'll get to Lane Kiffin's comments here in a minute, but he had a ton of his players on the defensive side of the ball play 80 or more snaps, several more play 70 or more snaps, and we all saw the fake injuries and all that going on. So, hey, this is an Ole Miss team that, these are young guys. I'm not saying they're going to be gassed right out the gate, but I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of advantages for the Tennessee Vols heading into this matchup. And we haven't even talked about the fact that Hendon Hooker's playing red hot. I'll say this for the listeners. There's a text thread going around, Hendon Hooker for Heisman. And and Shane may be the one leading that charge. So I don't know. You got to be feeling great about your Vols this week.
Oh man, I am, but I don't want to get too confident, man, because we're playing a red hot Ole Miss team here. Let's not forget who's on the other side of that ball. I mean, I don't know if you're trying to set me up with some bad news here in a minute, but that's what it feels like. So. I obviously super excited with where we're at. Like I said, there is a few advantages coming into this game. I think the main one is home field advantage because this crowd will be jumping. But but again, I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, man. We got an Ole Miss team here that has won a lot of ball games this year and by a wide margin. So let's not pretend that we're the only offense on this field.
Well, let's kick it over to Josh Heupel's comments real quick here. Shane, he says the team's getting healthy. He did announce that Jawan Mitchell, the linebacker, he's out for the season, but that's about the only negative injury news the Vols got. It sounds like all the guys that missed the South Carolina game, very good chance they play here against Ole Miss.
Like a Florida Gator comments. You remember that? We sat them against the Vols, but then they got their ass beat in Kentucky, so I hope that's not.
Coach, where is Hendon a better quarterback here in October than he was in August?
Confidence, comfort, decision-making, taking care of the football, all that comes with some time on task inside of the offense. Whether it's, check and run, check and run pass, whether it's RPO game, whether it's drop back, better decision-making. The more time you have in it, the more comfort you have, the ability to handle and play within himself while we're playing with tempo, all of those things. He's become a better, more vocal, more ownership on the football field in the locker room with our team as well.
Coach, you at your previous stop, you faced Lane Kiffin a couple times when he was at FAU. Can you speak to that familiarity and what, if anything, you take from those games into this week?
Yeah, for sure. You understand that he's going to be aggressive in certain situations, playing with 4 downs quite a bit on both sides of the football field. I think defensively, our players and our coaches certainly need to understand that going into the football game. Does a good job with his personnel, finding ways to put them in a position to be successful. He's done it with a lot of different styles of offense.
Coach, in the past, Tennessee has done things such as checkerboarding with the fans and in the stadium. How much do you kind of feel like that does play an effect, just certain gimmicks or things going on in the stadium with the fans to the team?
Shoot, I'm into whatever our fans want to do on Saturday night for this one. I think you want to play an exciting brand of football. You want to compete really hard, bring fans to the stands. I think we're doing that right now. And then you want your fans to enjoy the moment, man. And Saturday night will be a great environment. Need it to be a hostile environment. We need to make it tough for those guys to communicate, and our fans understanding that they're playing with tempo and their communication. We need to make it loud and make it uncomfortable for them.
All right, Shane. So, again, jumping to the other side of this one, let's give Ole Miss their due. I mean, they're top 20 in the nation for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Only game they've lost is, of course, to Alabama. And again, if Alabama were to find a way to lose somewhere along the way and Ole Miss wins out, they're headed to Atlanta. So everything, still in front of the Ole Miss Rebels. And you got a quarterback here in Matt Corral, arguably the best quarterback in the country, going head-to-head with Hendon Hooker. So Hendon Hooker's getting all this hype, yet Ole Miss has got to feel like they've got the advantage when you're talking about the head-to-head quarterback duo. What do you? Let me ask you about that, Shane. Who do you think? Try to put your bias aside if you can, but who would you rather have in this game? Matt Corral, Hendon Hooker. I mean, both are just playing phenomenal football this season.
Oh man, that's not fair, Mike. Because I am biased. I mean, let's just call it like it is. There's a lot of things I love about both these quarterbacks, and the thing that I love about Hooker is his mobility. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that's really starting to become a factor here the last couple of games is the legs. Not that Matt's not, but I like Matt. I like his efficiency. I like the fact. I mean, you look at this Arkansas game. This was a fantastic defense that they just sliced and diced. They had no trouble moving the ball. So I don't know, man. I think it's a coin toss. If I were to pick one. Oh, that's not fair, man. I'm going Hooker. All right. All right. I am biased. And the reason is the confidence this kid is gaining week after week. I think you're noticing it with the passes. One of the things that Tennessee really struggled with at the beginning of the seasons was the big plays, stretching the field. We joked about Milton throwing over these receivers and stuff, but it now feels like these receivers and Hooker are on the same page, and they're just – I don't know, like they just all of a sudden got upgraded to top caliber crew. And all I can say is that has a lot to do with Hooker's confidence. He knows where his guys are going to be. He knows where they should be. The receivers know how hard the ball's going to come to him. I think that was another one. Milton throwing a fastball out there, but there was just the chemistry you're starting to pick up. So I'm liking that just because I think all around it's the Tennessee weapons that have emerged. Now, I'm not saying Ole Miss doesn't have that. I'm just saying I've just noticed it more lately. It's not just one guy. It's not just one running back. It's whoever they put out there, they still find ways to move the ball. So right now, at this given moment, the fact that it's at home and Hooker's confidence is through the roof, I'm going to go with him.
Now, let me ask you this, and this may seem like a stupid question, Shane, but if you think, I don't know, I could see it either way because Tennessee's been running the ball so well here in recent weeks, and yet Ole Miss has given up a lot of rushing yards to Alabama and Arkansas. So maybe it's just natural to say, well, Tennessee will be able to keep that going. But I would also argue that when you think of Alabama, you think of Arkansas, very different rushing attacks from Tennessee. They've got monster offensive lines. They want to ground and pound and beat you into submission. And I'm not saying Tennessee can't do that, but it seems like they're more, they catch you off guard. And they have these slashing running backs, big play running backs. And I'm not saying they won't be able to have that same success against Ole Miss, but it just seems like different personnel. So I don't know, any concern from your side that Ole Miss is able to limit that running game from Tennessee, or do you think it's just going to be Josh Heupel dealing up some huge runs here for the third week in a row?
Hell yeah, I'm worried, Mike. I'm a Tennessee Volunteer fan, man. You keep waiting for this shit to stop working, It's like we pieced together a couple of good games. The one concern I do have was the second half of the South Carolina game. When these guys started getting pressure on Hooker, you saw him have trouble moving the ball. And how many times can you go 3 and out against Ole Miss and be out of the game? That's just how efficient their offense is. So there's a part of me worried about that. I want to make sure that I don't know. I don't think this game comes down to the trenches by no means. I think it comes down to play calling, and that's one thing. You look at the all-time record between these two guys. You give Heupel the nod. I don't know the talent gap between FAU and UCF, but I do like the fact that these guys, both of these coaches, they're really good about adjusting, not just at halftime, but during the game. This is going to be a damn chess match out there, and there's going to be some things drawn up that's just probably going to blow your mind. You're like, golly, they've been holding that play for a while. It's just that's what I think. This thing's going to come down to blows, and this is one of those games that I don't think necessarily any team really needs. I think Ole Miss is a little disappointed. They lost to Alabama. They thought they were further along, thought they would compete with the West. I know you just said they control their own destiny, but I don't think that pressure's on either team right now. It's just to go out there and perform, and that's why I think they hold nothing back here. There's no conservative play calling going to be Saturday night.
Lane, I'm curious, you've got a lot of guys on defense. I say a lot, a handful that are playing 80 snaps or more on Saturday. How big of a concern is that moving forward, and how close do you feel like you are to maybe having enough depth to alleviate that?
Well, that it was not good. A lot of guys played in the 70s and some 80s, which is not good no matter what, especially against the tempo. And when you're on tempo, so there's not a lot of delay between series. And we were a little bit big little after the first couple of drives of the game, on some quick scores. So, we got to play more guys. Guys have to give us confidence that, when they play well because we wore down, and, that was evident.
Lane, after you guys watched the film, did your perspective on what you saw live on the defense change at all? And are there things that can be quick fixes this week before playing Tennessee Saturday night?
Well, yeah, I think the effort on the last play, on the 2-point play was really good, and we played the play right. The same play earlier that, they'd scored on, and we'd let a guy go. I'm supposed to cover you, and I don't. So that was good. But, I felt like during the game and watching it, it was what we do on the other side, and what their system does with Kendall Browse. A lot of first downs, 37 first downs or something, and not getting off the field. And then with that tempo, guys wear down, and guys do not look the same later in the game on defense as they did early. And I think that happened on both sides. But so there's two keys to play. One's to play more players, but the most important one, get off the field on 3rd and 4th down, and then those drives don't keep going.
And I know it's been 12 years or so, but obviously a history with Tennessee. Does this game mean anything different to you, and what kind of reception are you expecting there?
Yeah, I would think that you would think that, and would probably normally be the case. But there's two things here. One, that's a long time ago, and two, like we've done this thing, since USC have gone and played against USC, have played against Tennessee, have played against Alabama. So it's not like, hey, all of a sudden you're going back to a place you used to coach to. And again, went there twice at Alabama. So, awesome place. I said it on some article last week about houses and where you lived. And they asked what was your, favorite house and where you lived. And I said the house in Knoxville, and they said, why? I said, well, it's a great house and a great setup with the river, but the people, really enjoyed people there, still in contact, with a number of them. And we'll see some of them, Saturday.
All right, Shane, jumping down to Tuscaloosa, where obviously Alabama coming off a heartbreaking loss on the road, Texas A&M. Now they're facing a Mississippi State team coming off a bye week. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. And hell, Shane, Mississippi State did what Alabama could not, and they beat Texas A&M. They beat Texas A&M in College Station. So that was the best performance that I've ever seen from Will Rogers and this Mississippi State offense outside of maybe the first game they ever played together in Baton Rouge, all those, what seems like years ago, but it was really just the opener of last season. But if Mississippi State, continues to improve on that offensive side of the ball like they did against A&M, we all know for the entire time that Zach Arnett's been there, Mississippi State's defense has been very, very good. What's the concern here, Shane, that I don't want to say Alabama got exposed, because they certainly did get exposed. They damn near won that game. But I don't know, what's the bounce back factor? And it's so rare that we see Alabama, have to deal with this and have to bounce back from a loss. How motivated do you think they will be to, rally the troops, so to speak?
I think that comes down to team leadership, man. Obviously, Nick Saban's fired up. He's going to be, he's going to be pissed off all week. Excuse me. But I think that's not going to be a factor. But you still need your teammates to pull you up sometimes, and I think that's the key. Some of these upperclassmen there at Alabama, who's going to step up, own that locker room, and get these guys fired up? Because if these guys are already they're, if they come in hungover or disappointed, or just whatever, they didn't put in the work, they didn't learn anything from that game at Texas A&M, then Mississippi State could eat their lunch. And I'm saying that because I've seen it. Look at last year when they played Georgia. That's a prime example. That was two teams that shouldn't have belonged on the same field, but next thing you know, it's coming down the wire because Mississippi State's always ready to play. They've shown us that. They've had some upsetting games here at the start of the season, but here lately, man, they're becoming on point, and that offense is coming together. Not just the defense, but that offense is coming together at the right time. And you look at Alabama, the blueprint's out. You look at the game against Florida, you look at Texas A&M, there are flaws, there are holes in this team, and they're human. That's what everybody just realized, that that Alabama is human, and I think that's important because there is an X factor when Alabama comes to any stadium. I just think all of a sudden you feel like you're supposed to lose this game. Well, now you're getting a different mentality. So it's all about the bounce back, and it's not just this game. Alabama needs this game. Alabama needs to win it and win it not even close. This shouldn't even be a ball game when you look at the talent gap. But if they drop this one, or if it's a tight one, I'm telling you, man, I'm not saying that they're going to unravel or anything like that, but I'm just saying watch out, because this may be the change that we've been trying to talk about for the last 12 years. Maybe this is the time that Alabama finally is humanized, and they're not the top. Maybe they are close to the top, but they're not far. There's not that gap anymore.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point, Shane. And as you were saying that, about the players being, where's the leadership from? You think Bryce Young, he's an underclassman. Their best receiver, Jamison Williams, just transferred in this offseason. Henry To'oTo'o, another transfer. Will Anderson, maybe their best overall player. He's a sophomore. I mean, you're just going down the list here. A lot of underclassmen in key critical roles for Alabama. And that doesn't mean they're not leaders. I'm not sitting here calling those guys out. But, I know they have Robinson, the veteran 6-year running back. That he's got to be a leader. But, how many true leaders do they got on that team with so many leaders leaving last year? That's something to consider. And I don't know if you've seen this, Shane, but according to Matt Hayes, Saturday Down South insider there, longtime college football writer, he's saying that looks like Bill O'Brien, has emerged as kind of the guy to watch there for the Southern Cal head coaching job. And hell, he's been down at Alabama, like 5-6 games. So the fact he's already, if that reporting is accurate, and I don't want to say how far it's gone down the road because I have no idea, but if he's already eyeing his next job, I mean, I wonder how committed he is to the current job. You know what I mean? How can you be? And certainly, the red zone play calling there against Texas A&M has been called out a little bit here. So I don't know. There's cracks in the armor, so to speak. But, again, we're not hitting the panic button. Alabama still controls their destiny. They still got a better roster than damn near anybody they're going to face. So they should win basically every time they see the field. But, hell, they should have won last week too. They didn't get it done. So, hey, we're going to find out real quick what this Alabama team is made of this week. I think going into a hostile environment with the Mississippi State team feeling pretty confident about their odds.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, and I think you're right, man. You got a team that's so used to winning, just used to showing up and winning. And when you went undefeated last year. Some of these guys on this team has never lost a collegiate game until last week. Right. So I'm sure there could be a lot of finger pointing and stuff like that. I mean, it helps that Nick Saban's the guy. He's the guy that's used to not losing, so I'm sure he can bounce back and get these guys focused. But, when it comes down to it, though, anybody that's ever played sports is sometimes, your coach can yell at you, he can make you run, he can make you do all this shit, but if my buddy next door to me here, the center, the tackle, or whatever position I'm playing, tells me to do better or points out the fact that I'm not doing the best I can, it speaks volumes. So that's that leadership, man. So we're going to find – that's the thing. We'll find out Saturday. Is there some leaders on this team that can get Alabama on track, or is this going to have to be a hangover effect, and next thing you know, we're talking about Alabama struggling to get to an SEC championship?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Coach, I'm just curious, what is your approach in speaking to your players in the locker room after losses, and do you use that as kind of a jumpstart to setting the tone for preparation for the next week's game?
Well, I think that, players have to remember how they feel when they don't have success, and I think they got to remember how that feels. And then I also think that they have to think about, well, how did what we did sort of contribute to this feeling that I have? And then what am I willing to do to fix it? Basically is, the message. So, and when I say, how do we respond to this? That's what I'm talking about. How do you respond to the feeling that you had when you didn't have success? And what are you willing to do to fix it?
Coach, when you say, don't waste a failure, like, what does that mean in your eyes for this team? What should that mean to not waste a failure?
Well, I think that what it means very simply is sometimes the best lessons you learn are when you do have failings. And you can always learn more when you don't do something exactly right. And it's human nature to be more willing to learn when things don't go right. So I think you don't want to waste the opportunity that when you did things that weren't successful, how could I improve on those things so that I become a better player. My performance is better. It helps the team more. So when I say don't waste a failing, it's not getting frustrated with the fact that you failed. It's your response to the failure and how you can sort of correct it and do it better the next time.
All right, Shane, so let's jump it down to the other side, go down to Starkville, where, hey, I want to start this by just playing this clip from Mike Leach. This was, I don't know what the hell the guy asking the question was thinking, but this is almost unbelievable that this is where we're at in this college football season.
Coach, most people weren't expecting Alabama to drop that ball game. I mean, how do you combat maybe your guys relaxing a little bit, saying, oh, yeah, well, this isn't the same Alabama team it has been?
Well, if we relax against the University of Alabama, then we are the stupidest team in college football. You know, I mean, if we relax under those circumstances, we may have some very good qualities, and we may have some very, positive things and stuff like that. But you have to really be a dumb team to, relax if you're playing Alabama or anybody like. Really, our schedule, if you relax to playing our schedule, period, I can't think anybody you can relax on, at least not around here or coming up, So.
All right, Shane. So, hey, I guess it is what it is, but this kind of goes back to the fact that Mississippi State beat Texas A&M, did what Alabama couldn't, and hell, this is kind of the MO of the Pirates, Shane. I mean, yeah, he may lose to a team like Memphis. Of course, again, there's questionable.
They didn't lose that game. Yeah.
Right. I mean, certainly you could debate that, but I mean, just look at Mike Leach's track record wherever he's been. I mean, somehow his teams will drop a game unexpectedly from time to time, and yet they could turn around and beat the number one team in the country. So
you're right.
I know Alabama's not currently number one right now, but I think Mississippi State's got a lot of confidence going into this matchup. You're getting a wounded Alabama. You're getting a hurt Alabama. You're getting them at home with them cowbells, Shane. It's at night. I mean, and like I said, Will Rogers, that's been kind of the main issue with this offense is just inconsistency from the quarterback position, inconsistency from the offensive line. The receivers, they've kind of needed guys to emerge there. Looks like they've got that now via the transfer portal. They've got it now with Will Rogers, who just now, this will be technically, one season as a starting quarterback going into this game. So he's got the experience you would think. And I don't know if I'm a Mississippi State fan. Certainly, against Alabama, you don't just sit here and count a W before it happens, but you got to feel, this is about as good as you can feel going into an Alabama game, I would think. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, this is perfect. This is right where you want them. Like you said, if you were going to, I guess orchestrate how you face Alabama, you want it coming off an upsetting loss. Mm-hmm. You want it, a team that's young and struggled a little bit here the last few weeks. I think that's exactly what you want at home, like you said, with the cowbells are going. Coach Leach has been in this type of situation before. He's won big games like this before. So, yeah, I think this is the best shot you're going to have to beat Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, how I'm just talking myself into this one, Shane. How wild would it be? Alabama loses 2 in a row. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. The first one was sweet for a non-Alabama fan. The second one, oh, my gosh. I'd love to be down there and burning couches with them, But let's be realistic here, man. This is the Crimson Tide. This is Nick Saban that's won, lost 7 games, 6 games, something stupid like that in the last, 80 years or something. I don't know. Some aggressive stat like that. But, he's not used to losing, and he's not definitely used to losing multiple games in a row. So I don't want to get too excited. But if I am a Mississippi State fan, I'm telling you right now, the fact that you've seen this team look human against Texas A&M. The fact you've seen this team struggle against the second half of the Florida Gators, the blueprints are out there. How can you disrupt or make Alabama struggle? It's out there. And the main thing is you got to outscore them. And that's one thing the Pirate is good at doing, is creating points on the scoreboard. So, if I'm a Bulldog fan, I'm optimistic. I think there's no reason not to be.
Shane, when Mississippi State pulls the upset, we put Nick Saban on the hot seat?
Hell no. Saban stay as long as he wants, man. And I love it, man, because some people, you hear it. This is the craziest thing. When what do you complain about when you're Alabama? You lost one game. You still control your destiny. You still could go to the SEC championship. You still could win a national championship. Mm-hmm. Here you are on an SEC podcast, and we're trying to convince you that Mississippi State has a shot in this thing when everybody knows how good Alabama really is. It's just, that's who you are. That's who you are. The guy. You're you always hear that when you go to the new school. You want to punch the bully right in the face. That's what happened. The bully got punched last week.
Right.
So now everybody's trying to figure out who the top dog is in the SEC. These guys can just step right back up, dust off, and carry on. And I think that's the biggest thing. Don't be surprised if Alabama doesn't bounce back. What happens if Alabama hangs 40 on Mississippi State and shuts them out? Then we're saying, okay, last week may have been a fluke. Alabama's back. Let's put them back. Let's put them back in the number one spot. So I'm not willing to just. I'm not willing to just get rid of Alabama. I want to. I want this to be a more of an equal playing field, but I got to be realistic. It is the Crimson Tide, and they are loaded top to bottom.
Yeah, and it's almost like going into that Ole Miss game where there were some doubters like me, Shane. Maybe that's the perfect spot for this Nick Saban coach team. He wants that doubt in. He wanted them to suffer somewhat of a setback so that he could get their full attention and let them know, hey, if you don't do as I tell you, we can be beat. You know what I mean? So who knows? This might be the perfect spot for Alabama as well.
If you're going to lose a game, well, is there a better game? Obviously it would have helped if Texas A&M was ranked, but you still can win out. You still can go to the national championship, go to the playoffs. All that. Like you said, this could be the wake-up call they needed. They played sluggish against Florida. They played. I'm not saying bad. They just made mistakes. Texas A&M was just playing good ball, and they caught them. So I think maybe. I don't want to. Again, I want to keep Mississippi State positive. This is me. This is me. If Tennessee was playing them this week, I'd be saying the same thing. I was like, maybe, But realistically, too, this could be an opportunity for Alabama to bounce back and get back on that path to a national championship.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of an actual hot seat, Shane, let's jump all down to Baton Rouge, where things are not getting any easier for Coach O. Hosting the Florida Gators this week. And, of course, last season, huge underdog, 23-point underdog, I believe it was, in the Swamp. LSU with the huge upset of the Florida Gators. And, of course, you want that victory, but it's probably going to bite you in the ass this week because Florida ain't going to be overlooking you no matter how bad LSU is playing. They're not going to be overlooked. This is one of the best rivalries, not only in the SEC, but the entire country. And Florida has won in Death Valley many times. So I don't think they're going to be threatened by it. Dan Mullen and Ed Orgeron have had many battles over the years. And, man, Keyshawn Butte's out. Things are looking rough for LSU. And as we were worried about the running game all season. They get that going. Now the passing game's an issue. Now all of a sudden Max Johnson looks shaky. And maybe they're putting too much on him. Maybe they can't protect him. It's a number of factors, but he does not look to be the same player. The defense is falling apart. And it's just not looking good for Coach O. And like I said, the last thing I think Florida's, they may not be playing their best ball, but I think they're being underlooked because they're a top 20 team in the country. But, this potentially, maybe this is an opportunity for Coach O to quiet the doubters, but I think more realistically, the way LSU's playing, this is just going to be more dirt on his potential grave there in Baton Rouge, don't you think?
Is he still? I thought he got fired. He didn't get fired yet. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, Coach. Mike. I mean, the thing that disappoints me the most about LSU, and we could point out the running game, we can point out the offense struggles. We could pull the thing that gets me, Mike, is just a lot of it has to do with this defense too. Especially the defensive line. Mm-hmm. That's Coach O's bread and butter. So, I mean, how many fingers? Who else can you point the fingers at? You've had plenty of years to recruit for that position. You've took over that coaching position several times, and still you just got demolished by Kentucky, man. I mean, not even close. These guys they came up there and ate your lunch. So I don't know. Where do you go? You got Florida? You don't think Florida's going to run the ball? That's all they do. Right. Hell, that's all they have to do. Mm-hmm. And they can go out there and they can put this game away. And so I'm really worried about the current position. I'm just worried about Coach O, man. And I don't know. I truly think that it's a matter of, it's going to be one of these Saturdays they're going to fire him. It may be this one, maybe the next one. I think it'd be crazy to put an interim coach because their schedule ain't easier. They got a tough slate up ahead of them. But maybe after that, I don't see victories. Like I was telling you on the last pod, I see another 3 or 4 losses on their schedule here, and that's worrisome because the Florida Gators are coming to town and they need a win. They need a bounce back game. They destroyed Vanderbilt. We expected that, but they got to work some stuff out. I think this is a perfect team to do it with. I expect them to have plenty of running back, but I expect a little bit more of Anthony Richardson out there. I expect a little bit more passing from Emory. I expect a little bit more, less conservative offense, more aggressive, because I think that's what happened with Florida in the last game with Kentucky. So. I think this is we're talking about how perfect it is for Mississippi State and Alabama coming in. That's the opposite for LSU right now. Florida is red hot and needs a win, not just a close win like this. If you look at the series, there's been some close games. I think that's the thing. Florida wants to come out and destroy you.
Yeah, and I certainly don't think Dan Mullen's on any kind of hot seat, but there's questions. Some fans kind of upset about how the team's been playing this year, a little inconsistent, and the big games, of course, you've lost. So, he's got an opportunity to smash a rival. That'll get you a lot of goodwill, particularly on the road. Mm-hmm. His record as a road coach at Florida, I think it's something crazy like 12-3, something like that. So he knows how to take these Florida Gators on the road and get those wins. And you got to think about the matchup here with Duranta Jones, the first-year LSU defensive coordinator, going up against Dan Mullen, one of the best offensive minds in college football. That's a huge edge to the Florida Gators. And I know that not everybody's a fan of Todd Grantham, but you even got to like that matchup, I would think. Mm-hmm. Todd Grantham going up against first-year offensive coordinator Jake Peets for LSU. So there's just so much to like about the Florida Gators in this matchup. And again, maybe had they smashed LSU last year, maybe you could say this is a trap game. Maybe they'd be disrespecting the Tigers. But the Tigers went in there, stunned the world, and that's got to be on their minds for the last 12 months. I don't think there's going to be enough shoe tosses in this one to give LSU any hope of winning this one, because the Gators got a lot to prove, and again, this is one of the heated rivalries in all of college football.
And that's the thing; it gets better every year. Do you remember the Hurricane and then the homecoming game and? There's just been so many different games that have come down to the last possession that these guys absolutely hate each other. Mm-hmm. It's a forced rivalry. I never accepted it as one, but here in the last decade, it's become one. And then you got the shoe toss and all this. I mean, there was so much shit talk after that game that I guarantee Dan's got it posted up on the walls there in the locker room. They're going to use it as fuel this week and remind these boys that this is a serious rivalry.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, hey, brother, that's all we got on this episode of the show. Really appreciate you hopping on the line. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. But you got anything else before we hop off the line?
Nah, just get those reviews in. Those help us out. So if you get an Apple product, iPhone, whatever, just jump on there, give us a rating. Screenshot that thing and email it to thatsecpodcast@gmail.com. Not only are we going to read them on Fridays, but you get a koozie, man. Just give us your favorite team. Mike's going to the mailbox. It feels like every day thing, I think, with 10 of these things. So, and it was really cool to see some pictures. We had a couple on the beach I saw, a couple at the game. So just be sure to send those in on Saturday. You got a koozie. Take a screen or take a picture and send it to us. We'll put it there on the Twitters.
Yeah, I got to be honest, Shane. My hand's getting tired from writing all these envelopes and thank you cards to all the listeners out there. But hey, that's just our way of saying thanks to each and every one of you who goes that little extra step. That is a terrific way to support the pod. So we really do appreciate that. But hey, buddy, that's going to do it. Getting fired up for these games this weekend. And I know you are. Cannot wait for them. But I'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.